So, a hell of a situation there for Chicago, and that sets the stage for the first round matchup. And again, you look at the playoffs, you reseed at the end of every round. So, in terms of being like on the fly here, being like, oh, well, if Columbus wins and they end up being here, I don't want to do that. Let's just talk about the first round for now, right? I already kind of did that in another video. I'm not really happy with how it panned out. Whatever, it is what it is. You look at these matchups. Philadelphia and Montreal. Philadelphia, I've said it numerous times in videos, tweets, right, on Twitch, whatever, that Philly scared the ever-loving hell out of me at the end of last season. Because we've seen it so many times now. The Los Angeles Kings in 2012. The St. Louis Blues last season. Teams that have that momentum heading into the playoffs are so goddamn dangerous. And the thing that scares me about Philadelphia is that despite the fact that they waited 5 months, they are still just as sharp as they were. And if you look, I don't know why I bothered closing cap friendly. I might as well have just left it up. If you look at this roster as well, there's a couple of main things here. First and foremost, Alain Vigneault being picked up as head coach. I don't like Chuck Fletcher as the GM, right? But getting Alain Vigneault, to me, is crucial. I mean, say what you want about his tenure with the Rangers, and what happened in Vancouver, not being able to get that team over the hump. Sorry. I love that signing then for them, and I still love it now. But you look at this roster, and it's a hell of a mix of guys who have, that experience. You look at someone like Kevin Hayes stepping up and starting to play like you'd want him to play. And then you have guys like Konechny and Couturier, where, bottom line, Philadelphia's window to win is pretty much in the next, 2 to 3 years here, if we include this year. But you have those players who are stepping up. Scott Laughton is one of the best players playing right now. 5 points in 3 games. Where is this Scott Laughton? Where has he been? Former first-round pick in 2012. Where has this Scott Laughton been for his career? Boy, my mouse just really doesn't want to cooperate with Cap from here. I don't know where the Scott Laughton's been for his career. It doesn't make sense. He plays like this for his entire career. I'm like, God, you're good to go. But, you get a mid to late first-round pick, and it looks like, oh, he's just going to be more of a kind of defensive kind of option. The point totals aren't the most impressive thing in the world, 20 to 30 points. And now all of a sudden he's playing like, that's what you need, is for a player of that caliber, a player of that ilk to step up like he has. Aside from that, Joel Farabee, young addition to the lineup. I'd be remiss if I don't mention Derek Grant for the Ducks fans out there. The defense, I mean, say what you want about Gostisbehere at this point, but obviously Provorov is one hell of a defenseman. Travis Sanheim from Calgary Hitmen, one hell of a defenseman. Philippe Myers has really stepped in to his own here in terms of how much he means to the team at this stage. But then you have Carter Hart. And obviously, I mean, it's insane how good he is already. It is insane. And obviously, you talk about Philadelphia since the 70s, and you say, what's been the biggest issue? And obviously, it's been the goaltending. They've had some great goaltenders over the years, but it's just never come together. The thing for Philadelphia that makes me scared, the roster, has some weak points here and there. They are playing for more than just the cup. Nolan Patrick's missed all season due to health issues. And at the end of the day, I didn't want that to fall back as far. Sam Morin, perhaps not as integral as a part of the team, but his career completely derailed by injuries. The biggest one, they're playing for Oscar Lindblom. And his story and, his fight against cancer, if you don't think that motivates the team and what that motivation can do for a team, it is very tough to say right now that based off of how their season's gone, how it is picked up through the round robin, that the Philadelphia Flyers are not the favorite to win the Stanley Cup right now. They have everything going for them. Absolutely everything. So, you look at this roster, it's a scary thing. And I mentioned it with Montreal. It would be the upset of all upsets. I respect what they did. I'm happy with what they did. In terms of games, I mean, I don't want to be, disrespectful to Montreal like people were when they played Pittsburgh and said Penguins in 2. Philadelphia, though, 4 or 5 games. If Montreal gets this to 6, holy hell. If Montreal wins, it'd be unbelievable. But it's tough to see Philadelphia losing here. Tampa and Columbus, the Bruins are in the playoffs, and I'm more intrigued by Tampa and Columbus. What's going to happen in this rematch? A lot of it depends on the health of Victor Hedman for Tampa. Obviously, finishing as the 2 seed, they've still looked solid at times. I am very intrigued to see kind of what version of Andrei Vasilevsky we end up getting, because he hasn't exactly been perfect at times this season. But I'm intrigued to see what they can do. And obviously, last year you look at, the embarrassment. You talk about, oh, John Cooper just signed a contract there, you're going to fire him. They don't get off to the best start this season. But Steven Stamkos is healthy. This team is still stacked. You gave up a first-round pick for Barclay goddamn Goodrow. Fair enough. Why not? If Victor Hedman's healthy, and if Andrei Vasilevsky's at the top of his game, it's tough to see Columbus doing it again. But can you really pick against Columbus right now? I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can pick against Columbus at this stage. I'm going with Tampa. I could see this series going 6, 7, 5, Tampa in 3. Who knows? It could be a complete bloodbath. I mean, these are must-watch hockey games. Must-watch. I'm probably going with Tampa to get the win. But can Columbus do it again? Hell yeah, they can do it again. And that's crazy. Caps and Islanders I kind of already talked about. Can the Islanders do it because of that defense-heavy style? Yes, but I think the Caps are much more, despite the fact the round robin wasn't perfect for them, I think they're much more re-energized after having that little bit of extra time off. Appreciate that host, by the way. I'll say this about the Caps. That little bit of extra time from that early elimination from Carolina last year, I think is going to do them a world of good. Obviously, you have the situation right now, though, with goaltending, where it's, we get to rely on Braden Holtby because Ilya Samsonov is not exactly at 100%. Holtby at an 898, Braden Holtby's in a contract year. I don't know what you're going to get from Braden Holtby at this point. If the Braden Holtby that has shown up every single time the Caps have played the Bruins for the last 7 years, if that's the one that shows up past 8 years now, I mean, my God, the Caps might win another Stanley Cup. They certainly have the roster to do it. They have arguably the best defenseman in the league right now in John Carlson, and obviously you can never doubt Alex Ovechkin. Are they going to be able to do it, though? I don't know. Because, like I said, you look at this defense-first style for the Islanders, it could completely stifle Washington against a former goaltender of theirs in Varlamov. So, I'm intrigued. Semyon Varlamov played for the Caps. I'm 99% sure of it. I'm incredibly tired at this stage of the day, of the night. I know this is true. I know this is true. You played for the Caps. I'm not crazy. Yeah, see, there you go. It was a long goddamn time ago. 2011, but it happened. So, I'd probably again side with the Capitals, but that's the thing. Could an upset happen? Yes. Could an upset happen? Absolutely. Could an upset happen? Absolutely. Could an upset happen? Yes. Yeah, monkey in the room. Bruins are 0-4 through the round robin and haven't looked great. There was something that happened as to where they didn't start, the round robin setting and really heading into the bubble with a full roster. Were people sick? Were people breaking rules? What the hell was happening there? I don't know. But I still want to have faith in my team. Because I look at that roster, I can see that team game in and game out. They certainly have their weaknesses. But Carolina is a goddamn wagon. Like I said, I am a lot less confident for this series than I was in the conference final last year. I still have the Bruins winning this one in 6 or 7. It won't be a sweep like it was in the conference final. But if you want to say to me, Tougie, do you believe that Carolina could win this game in 4 or win the series in 4? Yeah. They played that well against the Rangers. And you have a team that's looked a little bit shaky, maybe a little bit more than shaky, going up against a team that just got a decent amount of revenge on the New York Rangers. Brendan Lemieux shit-talking and stuff like that really benefited this team. And you talk about teams that had that little bit of extra to play for and have that little bit of extra motivation. It's huge for the Carolina Hurricanes right now to be where they are. So, I know it's a little bit generic to pick the favorites in all 4 series, that is exactly what I'm doing. But obviously, I could easily pick the 4 underdogs as well. Because it's 2020. Philadelphia, 99 times out of 100, should beat the Montreal Canadiens. 2020, this could be the one time Montreal somehow doesn't. It's crazy. Western Conference, I haven't talked about the Vegas Golden Knights yet. They have played to their ability so far through the round robin, where you look at their roster and it's like, that's a damn good roster. And so here they are. And again, we talked about Chicago, just having that huge confidence boost because of what happened with Mike Smith in Edmonton. I think the Vegas Golden Knights are going to win this series, as they should. Can Chicago win it? Yes. The one reason I'm going to say Chicago doesn't win it is because Corey Crawford really didn't look good against the Oilers. I think there's just too many holes on that defense at this point, a little bit too much inexperience from some of those guys back there, that this Vegas offense is going to be able to get the job done. But still, I mean, for Chicago, it's like, okay, cool, we got this great moment of beating the Oilers. You might be able to make a run. You might very well be able to beat Vegas, but you probably you did cost yourself Lafreniere, and that might have been really your best option at this stage. Gonna go with Vegas there. Arizona, I mean, we talked about them a little bit. Colorado, we haven't talked about. Not a perfect run to the round robin, but obviously you look at that Colorado roster and you say, Jesus, what a team. I gotta go with Colorado, beating Arizona on this one. But again, unlike perhaps any other year, I could see every single matchup going either way. It's that insane and it's that close. Again, I have to go with the favorite here. I don't want to pick an upset for the sake of picking an upset. I got to go with who I truly believe is going to win. And it's impossible to say that I don't truly believe that Colorado isn't going to win the series, because I do. They are the better team. Will they win? I do not know. But they certainly have the ability to do so, especially if Nathan McKinnon can continue to be one of the best players in the league, top 10 minimum, top 5 probably. Some might argue top 3, and I don't know if I can disagree with that based on this season. Dallas and Calgary. It's the battle of, I talked about it, Nashville, no longer have faith in you. Calgary, time for me to prove that I should have faith in you. And it's the same thing for Dallas. You were 1 goal away from knocking out the St. Louis Blues last year, and that team might have won the Stanley Cup last June. That did not happen. I will cry into my pillow now, thank you. It's time for Dallas to prove that they're legit and that they can take that next step. You have arguably the best goaltender in the world in Ben Bishop. Bunch of horse shit up top with Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin aside. It's time for Dallas to prove that they are that good. I think Calgary, you might have that little bit of the momentum factor on their side after beating Winnipeg in 4. I am going to side with Dallas on this one. They should win this series. If you had to ask me what series do I have the most confidence in terms of the lower seed pulling off the upset, it's Calgary against Dallas. And then you had the defending Stanley Cup champion St. Louis against Vancouver. You look at that St. Louis roster. Now, again, a lot of people aren't talking about this. At least not as much. Oh my God, the Bruins are 0-4. So are the St. Louis Blues. Thing about the Blues, they won. That's it. That's the difference maker. They won last year. Do I think that they could suffer from Washington syndrome here? It happened to the Bruins, too, in 2011, 2012. You won the Cup in 2011. Sorry, Canucks fans. And then 2012, you got absolutely spanked by a hot goaltender in Braden Holtby. The Vancouver Canucks are my pick to win this series. Because I still think, if you look at kind of the history of it, I think the Blues, there might just be that little bit of a fatigue factor carrying over from last year. That said, I'm not saying I don't think the Blues can't win the series. Of course they can win the series. They're still one hell of a team. You get Tarasenko back. But at the end of the day, I think the Canucks are going to have just enough to make it past St. Louis with that little bit of fatigue. You talk about, the extra rest from March to August is going to pay dividends for them. I mean, maybe not. I still have more faith in Calgary being able to beat Dallas than I do in Vancouver being able to beat St. Louis, but I am going to side with Vancouver. If that makes sense, it might not. Well, if you have more faith in Calgary, why don't you pick them? Perhaps you're right. But, I don't know. I'm just going to hunch about the Canucks. There's something about the Canucks. And I don't know. Maybe it's the biased Bruins fan in me who's like, I'm just kind of hoping St. Louis loses. As if that would change anything. That's not the way I'm feeling. But equally so, St. Louis could win the goddamn Stanley Cup again this year. That roster's sick. So, I talked about it before I even started breaking down these matchups. Could every single team win their first round matchup? Absolutely. There isn't one single matchup here that I am willing to bet money on. Because it's goddamn 2020. These teams are playing in the bubble. And anything can happen. But goddamn if I'm not excited to see how this plays out. Because I was not sold at all on hockey in the bubble. I'm like a spectator sport without spectators, but man, if the rest of the playoffs are anything like the qualifiers happen to be, then by God, JR, by God. And of course, Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. 6 p.m. Eastern, we are going to find out who gets that number 1 overall pick. Edmonton, Florida, Minnesota, Nashville, New York, Pittsburgh, Toronto, and Winnipeg. In terms of who I'd like to see get it, Florida, Minnesota, Winnipeg, Nashville. I'd like to see one of those 4 teams get it. In terms of ridiculousness, like obviously like Edmonton, Pittsburgh, or Toronto getting Lafreniere would be insane. And the team that probably needs him the most, I mean, that's a hell of a discussion to be had in terms of the team that needs him the most. Because that is a serious debate to be had. I mean, Edmonton, do they need him the most? No. But you do need someone to boost up that team. And I mean, you talk about Lafreniere, you know, being on the wing of McDavid or Draisaitl. And what that does to that depth. Every single team has an argument there for needing Lafreniere, of course. Generational talent, he's projected to be. So he is more than likely going to go to either Edmonton, Pittsburgh, Toronto, or even the New York Rangers, one of the bigger teams, I'd say. God, it's good to have hockey back. I think I'm done rambling about hockey now. I needed to get that out of my system. I miss this. I miss this a lot.